Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Welcome to part 2 of the electrical system. Part 1 was taking it all together, assessing what needed to be done on the electrical system to get it functional. And just as a reminder here, the root problem was that if you ran the generator, you did not have any electrical throughput, either 120 or 12 volt through the coach, which meant effectively if you were boondocking, you wouldn't have any power. Even though the generator runs great and it has only 35.5 hours on it, it might as well not be functional when you go to turn it on and it doesn't provide the power you need where you need it. So ended up pulling the converter box out, the Parallax, what used to be Magnatech unit. It was a very undersized 25 amp unit, very tiny. Pulled it out. It had 3 breakers on the 120 side. It had a main, of course, and then it had an air conditioner and a refrigerator, or air conditioner, and one other one. I think it was for the refrigerator on 120. Other than that, that was it on the 120 side. If you wanted to plug in, I mean, it did feed. Obviously, there were some sockets there, which was probably the other circuit actually, to plug in 120 within inside when it was running. On the 12 volt side, it was woefully undersized with just 5 points of distribution for DC for 12 volt power, which is real tiny. If you want to add task lighting, you want to run, have some other things, upgraded sound systems on a different circuit, well, the problem was you couldn't do it on the existing one without double tapping on the hot, which you don't want to do on a distribution panel. You don't want to run 2 branches off of the same breaker. You know, it's in housing, it's against code, and in RV work, it just doesn't make sense. So the generator was given a thorough checkup. There was an issue with what we call neutral bonding on the generator, which is kind of it bears some explanation, and we'll get into that too. But there was a basic wiring issue where the prior owner had taken things apart and assumed that all white wires always go with all white wires, all ground wires always go with ground wires, and all hot, black or red, always go together. Well, not always the case when it comes to what happens in the panel, the distribution panel, not the distribution, but the drop panel from your power company to your house. And it's certainly not what happens in coaches when you need to have what's called bonding, neutral bonding to the ground within the generator compartment. So we'll be dealing with that too. I've got the new distribution panel in. It's the Parallax. It's the 45 amp one. It has a much better battery charger that does not boil your batteries. It has a much more sensitive computer controlled sensor that tells when the battery's had enough, and it stops the overcharging process. It's already wired to do the house battery and the engine battery. Speaking of the house battery, we picked up a Windy Nation, a nice 100 amp hour, beautiful big battery, weighs 65 pounds. It's a jumbo. It's going to give us very good duty inside of here. So today's plan is to pull up the couch cushion, because that's where the electrical system all comes together there, and install the new converter box, and also install the switching relay. Now, what is the switching relay does? It allows, what does it do? It allows switching between shore power and generator power seamlessly without having to go in and throw a switch, a manual switch there. So that relay is actually going to be piggybacked on the back of the converter box, and if all goes well, we'll have a distribution panel that's modern. It doesn't buzz. It will be dependable. The chances of fire and malfunction will be much lower, and it will have more points available for 12 volt distribution within the coach It'll have more points available for 120 distribution either inside or outside on the coach to, well, for example, to be able to plug a plug in here, to use a GFI in an outdoor socket if you wanted to run, well, a hot plate or something, something external, instead of having to run extension cords through the coach. Well, you could just open the hatch, plug in, and off you go. So when we're done, it should have a very upgraded coach. So I've got to go inside and do a little preparation work, get the couch lifted up there, and I will see you guys in a minute. As we get underway here, I always feel like I have to give my standard caution about working with electricity, particularly where we're in an environment where H2O is in the same area as electricity. We want to be ultra careful that we don't pop any lines, any water lines, any distribution lines on that. It's not the most genius setup I've ever seen to have all of the electrical and the plumbing interlaced with each other, but we got to go with what we have. If you don't know what you're doing with electricity, you could potentially hurt yourself through shock. You could miswire something in your coach and destroy your new distribution panel. You could even go so far, if you were unlucky, to blow up your batteries and cause untold damage to the wiring throughout your coach. If you don't know what you're doing, seek help at a competent RV shop or somebody that's experienced with working with electricity. Now, one good thing that I had was I took made a very detailed drawing of what the old distribution panel looked like, particularly on the incoming side from the generator and from the house. So we can go ahead and make some room now here and re-identify some of the wires here. We have things like distribution for probably what was the air conditioner here. We've got the distribution for what was probably the refrigerator, and then our 12-volt side. We also have our inputs here from the generator and from shore power. So having identified all that stuff beforehand, yes, I could have identified it, but for the sake of video, it's good to have it. Remember that caution: if you don't know what you're doing with electricity, be careful or leave it to somebody else that knows and is trained in what they're doing. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and reacquaint myself a little bit on the 12-volt distribution size. We'll go mount up the switching relay on top of the unit, and we'll go ahead and get her installed. This is what I meant by mixing electric. You have the water pump here, which is prone to leaking, and you have all the electrical. Now this is shielded. It runs within plastic shielding conduit. This conduit that you can see here encapsulates the wires inside of it, so it's okay. I mean, the chances of a problem are minimal. This is where the old box went. I do have things marked. I use the tape. You know, a week is a long time. You think you'll remember everything, and the chances are you probably won't. So it always helps to mark things down. Okay. So there's a look inside. We have, of course, the shore cable has to sit in here, so there has to be room. Things have to be properly hooked down together so that things don't interfere and pull on each other when you go to do your shore power. You sure don't want to put this sofa up and down, as heavy as this is, to get access to this, because it is really a brute. First thing we need to do is remove our front panel. We need to protect this, or else it'll get scratched. And this uses proprietary fasteners, what we call the Torx, the T-O-R-X. And you can see how old my Torx driver is. I mean, I really rarely ever see these type of fasteners. Usually they use the Phillips screws, but we're going to go ahead and remove this. Got to get out this top part here. I'm going to go get a screwdriver to pry that little door open. Might be able, no, I can't get it from the back, and then we'll have a look inside. This is the area where the 12-volt distribution occurs, and I like how nicely this is laid out, and I like the fact that we have a lot of distribution points on here too. And this is the 120 side. We get the input from the switching relay, which will be coming through. This is our mounting for the circuit breakers. Our main goes here with a special hold down clamp feature. There, we're going to loosen that, push it to the side, mount that up, and then that will allow us to safely have our main breaker. This is our neutral bar here. The whites are generally associated with neutral, and this is our ground bar here. So anything we mount up here incoming in the back from, say, the refrigerator or from the air conditioner needs to have a ground, it has to have a neutral, and it has to the black has to go on the bottom of the breaker here. Okay, so pretty simple design. I'm maintaining the same order as the other one, which is the our green breaker here was our main. It was 30 amp. We had a 15 amp to the fridge, and then we had, oh, what is that? A 20 amp for the AC unit there. So that's what we're going to maintain in here. Now, I told you up here for the mounting of the main, they want you to slide this retaining bracket to the side, which I've done here. Then you mount up your breaker. Here, let me get that into position. It's a little tough. Get that mounted up there. And then you're supposed to take this little retaining clip and reinstall that in a forward position like that. So that keeps that locked in, so people understand that that's the main coming in there, and it's not to really be tampered with. Now, on this unit, I could have double pole breakers. I could replace these 215s, 220s side by side, 215s. I have space over here where I can use side by side a double pole breaker here, and that'll give me 2 feeds for the future. It's not imperative right now that I have that, because if I need to add, say, the external outlet to the coach, all I have to do is take off the front panel, remove this, the cover on here, and then go ahead and install my breaker and wire it in correctly. We're not wired yet. Wire that in, and then it's a simple matter of having that extra power is then available to whatever circuit you want it to run. So we've got our breakers mounted now, and it's time to go ahead and look at mounting our switching box, switching relay. This is the switching relay unit, and the inputs, actually it has inputs and outputs. Obviously you're going to have grounding, you're going to have input from the generator, and you're going to have input from shore power. They're going to hook down here on this clamp down in these positions, and then you're going to have out to the box here to the main breaker. So the issue is mounting this to the back of the box, so for ease of putting our distribution wires through it. So I'm going to take a look at that now, turning the box around here, the converter box, a little bit. And you're always glad when you have your diagrams from before. They're always very helpful here. And then we can see about the best way to mount this unit on here, so that we have an easy way to get our power down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and check that out now, find the best way to mount that up. I used 2 screws coming through the back here to the other side. On this one I used a washer. See, I installed a washer to give a little more gripping room on there. I just temporarily moved this out of position. Now if you look at the back, it's very securely installed here, and that's not going to go anywhere. And it also gives me very easy access to get my feed through the back right here of the unit. So now would be a good time too to make sure that your coach battery, your house battery, and your engine battery, and whatever other batteries you have are totally disconnected from the system. It's a very good safety precaution Well, we've got our unit mounted now, and they give you a nice grommet. You can see right down there I mounted that grommet, and that allows you to actually bring the output from this board into the distribution system. As you can see over here on this side, it comes through the grommet here, and then we just carry our white down to the neutral bar, and we take our black logically to our main breaker right here. Makes sense. You want your output from either the generator or shore power to come into this first. This is the first distribution of the whole system. The first point of bringing in this external power through this automatic switching relay. Now the nice thing too, they give you directions, and because mine is mounted upside down, we're actually looking at it like that. And it tells you, just reminds you, as if you can't tell, like you can see over here, this is the coach black and it's going inside to the coach. Hot, this is the neutral going into coach, but you'll have your generator hot in, your generator neutral here, your shore power in, your shore power neutral, and then you'll be hooking the grounds down on the ground bar up here. Okay, so really easy. Okay, because the new panel doesn't fit, it's just a little larger. I've had to get my Sawzall, and I need to do a little bit of carpentry work to widen this. I've already started it. Widen one side. Now I'm going to try to do it on the other. It's a little tricky. Space is tight. I'm using a very thin kerf blade for better results here. It's much better than using a very thick blade that could be destructive. Make very sure that you don't hit your water. Alright, let's try that for fit before we clean it up. I got one more little edge here. Big job, huh? About that. Let's try sliding her in, and we'll see what we get. Be careful of sharp metal corners here. Let's see what we get. Yeah, that should be able to slide in first perfectly, and still look very custom. So I'm going to go ahead and get the vacuum cleaner, get this all cleaned up, and then we'll mount the box in. Okay, it's getting good, huh? Right, let's get this stuff cleaned up, huh? Oh boy. Go ahead and slide the converter box into position, and this should be a relatively easy matter since we have it all sized. Just be gentle, top to bottom, bottom to top. Slide her right in. just fits oh so beautifully flush right in the existing configuration. Nice, huh? Next thing we want to do is, this is our generator input here, and we're going to now tie that into our relay. And it's really nice, they have it marked on the panel right here on the relay. They have it marked for the generator gen neutral right there. So that's what we want to do, is give ourselves a little more slack here. And go ahead and get that mounted down there. Get that right into position. And we'll get our Allen key here, our hex key. We'll go ahead and tighten that down real good. That will now tie our generator into the panel. We don't have any output connections yet, but we do have the input connections, okay? We're making them right now. We want to make sure we get that clamp down really good. And that's not going anywhere. May not even get my wrench out, right? There we go. Now we're going to look for the generator line in, and I see that over here. So I'm going to go ahead and back this out a little bit down here and pull that through. This side, this is some really heavy gauge wiring here, so make sure you're protecting your hands. I can go ahead and do the generator line side, which is the hot side. Hot power coming in. Like it hot. And we're going to get that positioned down there. And I'm going to have to get the big pliers to get that in position, because that's very difficult to bend. You really want to make sure all of your connections are good and tight down here. Reason being is, if you're going along in a vehicle, they could potentially rattle loose. You also want to make sure you're using cable clamps for your wire entries. If you're not, if you think you don't need them, as you're riding along and moving and you're setting up your shore power and pushing it back in, you'll start rubbing this back and forth, and before you know it, your protective covering or sheathing on the wire will be exposed, and you'll have a terrible short circuit and a potential fire. So make sure that you're using cable clamps to bring in your feed, okay? So there it is. All of our connections for the generator are made very well, neatly, well-dressed ends, nothing hanging out. We're clamped on the copper. We're not clamped on the plastic of the sheathing, okay? Very important. A lot of people make connections and they don't make true ones because they're clamping down the sheathing on the cable instead of the copper conductor. Do it right. Knockout port on this side is unusual because it has a ring within a ring, and because this is a larger diameter feed that we're bringing in from shore power, we have to remove the inner ring. We're not going to be using a cable clamp on this one. This is the shore power feed, and we're going to bring it in like so, and then clamp it in just like that, and you can see how nice and securely that snugs in right there. Pretty, huh? Now we just have to go on and make our connections here, our ground, our neutral, and our hot. Some of your wires may have to be shortened a little bit because the ground terminal is right here. Then I don't need all this extra length to ground this off, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that a little shorter, get my lineman's dikes here, lop that off, and then mount it on the ground strip there, okay? We have to also remember to bring in our main ground for the whole coach. coming in for all the distributed 12 volt power that's going to go out. We actually have a little hole. You can see where it says ground conductor routing hole. We're going to bring it through the back there, and we're going to hook that down on the ground bar too. Very important. We got that brought through. Now it's simply a matter of tightening that ground connection, and that is a very important ground connection for the functioning of the whole system. Okay, let's go ahead and we can now go ahead and hook down our air conditioning to spot number 3 on the panel with the red breaker. Next thing I want to do is just do a very basic test here, just to make sure I've got the shore power hooked up. I've got the generator connection hooked up, but there's no real battery going to the generator yet, so that's not going to factor into the equation. But I want to check my shore connection side. So I'm plugged into shore power. I'll flip my breaker here, and I want to go ahead and try the air conditioner and see if that's going to. Okay. All right. So we know we've got our shore side power hooked up good through the relay there. Okay, we can go ahead now and close this relay box up to protect against any potential shocks. One of the really great things about taking pictures when you take something out is it makes it so much easier to reposition your connectors going back in. You can see I have 3 bundles here, 3 branches. And well, just by referring to the picture I took when I removed them, I'm able to route them into the correct locations, and it makes it so much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I removed my knockout ports from the back, and it's simply a matter of feeding them. Had a little lunch and back on the job. And guys, are you ready to wrap this up and finish this install? I want to sort of maintain the same distribution arrangement that the prior owner had, not in terms of a degraded power converter, but in terms of his layout, in terms of which terminals went there. So I'm going to go ahead. You can see I have the old panel cover here. I'll hold that up for you to see, and it has his markings like let's see, the first one is lights, the second one is furnace, then you have the water pump, and then the refrigerator, and then you have looks like something like a TV outlet thing back there. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of use his same order and fill up some of these first positions. A couple other things I want to explain to you that were a little different than when I left you last. If you look back here at where the feeds come in for the 12 volt and for the battery and the generator controls, you'll see that I removed the blue cable stays there, and I had to go over to traditional cable clamps, reason being that these weren't long enough as they were configured coming in to be able to reach the points I needed up here to hook up the red big positive battery cable here, and also to do the grounding and neutral bonding. And that's a very important point here, where you see a white and the neutrals run together, because on a totally separate system like this is, as opposed to an RV system, when this is running on a generator, you want to make sure that there's a bonding there between the neutral and the ground. It just provides an additional layer of sort of protection, just in case something was ungrounded somewhere. It would have another path for ground to return and kind of neutralize any current that may accidentally find itself onto the neutral bar. At least that's my understanding of it. So, and it was also neutral. It was also bonded here before during the last arrangement, so I'm respecting it. Now it just remains to get our distribution points down on here, and we can get ahead and test the system here. Okay. Here's the boss came out to supervise, make sure I'm not dicking off in the rig yet here, huh? Well, what do you think? For the first time since probably 4 years since he parked it, 4 or 5 years, the generator is kicking out power, running the AC unit on top, putting out a nice, kicking out some nice power for the batteries. I've installed the new Windy City battery back here. One thing I'm not crazy about on this system is they used a green wire as a negative for the second battery instead of running a black wire. It defies imagination to me, unless there's some thing about using a second one. But this is being charged up there. We go inside. Green is the color of ground, and it is really kicking out cold air here, guys. Really nice. All of our power's working, our overhead lighting here, so our 12-volt distribution's working good. Pretty sure probably our fridge has started to activate too. Let's see here. Yeah, she's already starting to get cold in the back there. I'm not going to run this, but I am going to turn this off. I don't think we need that running. Very good there. Very happy. Got a nice unit. Well, I'm doing a visual inspection here just to make sure everything's tucked in real well and I don't have any connections. I suspect over here in this connection is what used to be in his position number. If you look at his old guide, his position number 1 AC, 15 amp for TV service. He might have had a low voltage TV, and I think in fact what he did was probably just disconnect it and leave it down here, because that's the only thing I can really think of down there, unless I'm missing something in the distribution. But everything else is accounted for. Let's try the water pump here. Yep, that's pumping away. Let's make sure we hear that okay. This is really running nice, the generator. Smooth as a baby's bottom. I can't run it too long because I got to change the oil. Oh, I got to turn that off because it sounds like a faucet's open, but the pump is definitely running, and I don't even want to even mess with the electrical system, plumbing system. That's another day here. Just checking, make sure everything is okay. Nothing's warm here. Got all of our grounds in place. She's charging good. It's a little rough sometimes when you first put it under load, probably because it sat for 4 years. It takes a second to kind of smooth out. It rumbles a bit, and then it comes in. It's like the regulator, the sensor. It takes a couple seconds to get itself right, but once it does, then it gets with the program real good and does what it's supposed to be. Well, it's time now, guys, to wrap up the project, to get this back secured, to mark our panel out, and call this a job well done. So I'm going to get remove some of these screws and get some other screws, and we can finish this job up. Okay. And the nice thing about you can see that thing hesitated for a second, but you can see I snuck in an extra set of breakers on you too over here, and this is twin pole. I can run two 15 amps off of this for extra 120 service for exterior outlets. And look at all the additional additional distribution points I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more points that I can take 12 volt power. This is in fact the I'm quite sure, probably the best distribution system on any Coachman in existence camper van right now. 25 to 45 amp with the ability to distribute that much on the DC side and additional on the AC side too. Woo! Thank you, Missy Jen. We get our Sharpie. And in our number 2 position, we have the we got 12V distributed. And then in the number 3 position, we have AC. How about that? Okay. Also gone ahead and installed that exterior panel. And in addition, these have all been noted just like they were before. So much easier when you just follow the original plan. Cleanup time. We are finished. What a great project. What a joy to have a motor coach that works equally well on generator and shore power with a beautiful switching relay that automatically and seamlessly goes back and forth without having to flip a switch and, oh, I forgot to put the generator on. It does it automatically. We've got that beautifully upgraded panel for distribution to 12 points now instead of 5, and we have room for 3 additional circuits on the 120. We are in great shape. Best of all, it brought it up to ultra modern standards and made it the best factory post-factory install probably of any Class B camper van that's out there, the Coachman series, because it went from a 25 to a 45 amp panel with double the distribution points, ultra modern, ultra safe, no worries. The battery charger doesn't boil the batteries as the 25 amp one does. This is a beauty. It is the best of the Coachmans out there. I can guarantee you that. At about $320, it was definitely worth it too, to have the peace of mind and to have the generator tied in that's working beautifully with the system now. Just a few hacks to remember. If you're going to attempt this with your vehicle, make sure you understand principles of electricity and safety too, okay? And also remember to make diagrams and take plenty of pictures before you do the tear down and removal. It makes it so much easier. You think that you're going to remember something you did a week ago? Maybe not. Some of us have trouble remembering 2 days ago or even yesterday. You need to have notes. You need to have pictures to do it the right way, okay? It was a difference between a 4-day job and a 4-hour job. Thanks so much for being along today. I hope you enjoyed it. The best of the best here. Part 2 of the repairs and renovations, the electrical system, the Coachman 1988 Dearborn van camper. Thanks everybody. Thumbs up are appreciated. If you like what you saw, hit the share button, and your comments are always welcome. Thanks.